message in the Discord to let people know. And in just a couple of moments, we are going to get into Tretogor Province and start doing a little bit of work. Before we do, I thought I would take a moment just to show you guys how the big French city is coming along. And you can see my FOV is messed up because I was taking a screenshot the last time I was playing. But in any case, this is how things have been going. You might not see a lot of changes in some places. A lot of what I've been doing actually isn't new building. It is coming in and basically tearing down or replacing stuff I had done with newer versions of it. There's a lot of creative decisions I made in this build that I'm not happy with, and because it's such a new project for me, I made a lot of choices and mistakes and stuff that I felt I kind of had to replace. So basically I'm trying to make the city more French and feel more like Paris. But hello to everybody who is now joining us in the chat. I see Mikael Meatminch, the Muffin Man, who is pretty often in my chat. So hello to a regular viewer, Opie, Random Gamer. Hello to everyone who has come to hang out. I see the stream delay is pretty high right now, unfortunately. So that might make things a little bit odd. But hello, how is everyone doing today? For me right now, it is 11:30. I have class at 2:45. I'm going to a lecture about the history of the Holocaust. So that should be pretty interesting. I couldn't hear anything. I was wondering if my volume is up. So yeah, I can stream until about 1:30, and most of what I want to do today is work on some terraforming. I haven't actually been playing a lot of vanilla Minecraft. I've mostly been playing on Westeros Craft because I finally became a Westeros Craft builder. I'm still an apprentice right now, so I'm still in my probationary period. But that has been really cool. And as you can see, I've been doing some planning for some of the bigger builds and stuff. But there's a lot of areas that I just don't really know what to do with. Like, this is gonna get all torn down. All this stuff here. Some of the stuff here might get torn down. I really don't know. You know, it's the struggles of Minecraft building. I'm probably gonna tear down this whole castle and just start from scratch, basically. And Velaton in the chat is asking, hey Ross, what do you think about castles from Kingdom Come Deliverance? I really like this medieval style. I do too, actually. I've taken a lot of influence from Kingdom Come Deliverance, directly and indirectly in a lot of ways. One of the things that I've taken basically the most directly is a build I did in Tretogor. Some of you might remember it from a few months ago. But if I take a little fly over this way, past Regensburg, past the mountains, past the big lake, we'll get to Chamberlain Castle. And Chamberlain Castle was inspired a lot by Kingdom Come Deliverance. The idea here was to try and go really medieval. I'm sure you guys know, a lot of Minecraft builds are not medieval, they're more fantasy. So it's a style that I was kind of in for a while, and then finally I decided I want to go really proper medieval with this stuff. I'm also this is a terrible path. What did I do here? There we go. That's a bit better. Oh. Very weird. I don't know why I left that like that. Whoa. Sorry, my flying speed is super high right now. Yes, the plan that I'm going to be terraforming around today is inspired by the Byzantine Empire. It's inspired specifically by tales from... Sorry. My throat is a bit weird today. It is inspired specifically by Tales from Earthsea, which is a really bad movie. I don't recommend anybody watch it, but it looks really cool. Um, and it's a really inspiring movie for me, like visually. So why don't we head over and we can start on the actual terraforming process. So I'm sure you guys know by now, if you're longtime viewers, this is kind of like the south of my world. We have the Rosewood Port here with its like small little fields. We have Sarneville, and we recently came in and did a new castle. By the way, this house and this house are both inspired by Kingdom Come Deliverance a little bit. And basically, I have this big empty stretch of forest. And what I've done is I've cleared it out along the river here. I've cleared out all the trees and stuff. And what we're going to do today is a lot of cleaning this up, turning it into something pretty. I want to also terraform this river, maybe terraform some low hills and fields and stuff. And so this is the city that I'm working on. And the plan is that it's going to be a city that was once like really big and cool and fell into disrepair. Random Gamer says that area is by far my favorite part of the world. I think as an area, it's really cool. I really love it too. But the idea is basically there's a town that once was really grand and big, and now it's kind of, it's not what it was. It's not what it once was. It's fallen on some hard times. So some of the buildings are still going to be standing. Some of them are going to be a little bit ruined, and some of them are going to be completely ruined. So for example, this one here is going to be a place where like the building fell down. So they basically cleared the rubble and they're now using it as a little farm. There are also some, like I said, some more intact buildings. And one of the things I want to do is really focus on the idea that like there's like a new culture of people who live here now. These colors, by the way, these are all just placeholders. So here you can see basically there was like an old apartment building and somebody has come in and basically made a house here. A bridge with houses on it would look cool. Don't know if that would fit in though. I think it's gonna fit in more with my big French city because that's on a bigger scale. Unfortunately, Tretogor mostly has a kind of smaller scale, and it's like the only place I could put a bridge with houses on it that would make sense would be if I did a huge custom river terraform. And I just don't know, like, I don't really feel like it would fit in with this area, and I don't know. I have some more ideas for Tretogor. Don't tell anybody this, but I'm planning on building a Japanese city really far in the north, like past Medina. But that's not like official or anything. That might not happen. So this is the big centerpiece, of course. This is a big Byzantine church. I really like the floor plan and stuff. I kept the top open. I'm going to put like a display entity block here, basically, so that we get the sunlight in and you get like these beautiful shadows, but it's not too dark. We have some small side chapels on each of the corners. And then if we go, we have some towers that will take us up here. You get this cool little balcony. And then this will take you up to this area here, where you can see the pendentives and you can see like the top of the dome. I think this build is going to be really cool. In front here, actually, the way it's going to work is that this tower is a big staircase and it'll lead you up to this big balcony. I'm not sure how ruined I want to make this, but I was thinking, if you guys have ever played The Last of Us and you see like those skyscrapers that have like these big breaks in them with like vines hanging down, I love the idea of just putting like a big crack through it. So yeah, this town is going to be mostly in disrepair, and the running name for the town is actually Gedham, because we have a new Gedham in this world, and for a long time we didn't have a Gedham to be the old Gedham. So I think that this is going to be something like Old Gedham. The more I say that word, the more it sounds like I'm going crazy, but you get the idea. And there are some little bits and towers and stuff, and obviously it's not quite done. And you can see I have like all these little notes. For instance, I was thinking this would be a great place for like a market, maybe around an obelisk or something. I want to have tons of like little reconstruction projects. And if any of you guys if any of you guys have seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, in season 1, we visit an air temple that was once home to like basically Tibetan monks. And it's since been reclaimed by a completely different group of like earthbenders, and they're all like tinkerers and inventors and stuff. So my idea was like that the people who live here now aren't necessarily, you know, all of the old Gedem people. They don't have a ton of reverence for like all of the old stuff. You know, they're willing to break down some walls. They're willing to basically bust up some places and make them more useful. You know, this used to be a house, but I'm thinking maybe it's storage now. And this used to be, I think, a bathhouse. And my idea is that maybe we could have something like a big fountain in the middle. Big fountain in the middle being fed by like a broken aqueduct that used to feed the bathhouse, and now there's just like a trail of water that runs down through this gate and then just like drops off a cliff. I really want to emphasize the verticality. That's why I pasted it into the air. Obviously, I could have pasted this like way down here by the shore, but I was thinking, wouldn't it be way cooler if it was on a big cliff? So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this, but like I said, I haven't actually touched it in like a month, just because I've been playing modded Minecraft. And it seems like you guys are pretty excited about this concept too. So like I kind of indicated, this is going to be... This project is going to be done with like a lot of Axiom and stuff, especially the terraforming. Just because I think it is a lot easier in like a million different ways. The Muffin Man saying you can make the city on an incline leading up to the temple. I was thinking about that. I might... Because I built this in super flat, I hadn't really considered that, but that's actually a really good idea, Muffin Man. I probably will cut and lower like this half of the city by a couple blocks. Because I wanted to put the buildings on a bit of an incline, but you can see it doesn't super work. I was gonna put it on like a plateau, but you're right, actually the city itself could be on an incline. I think that could look really cool. I'm not sure how much of this land back here I want to keep, but obviously like as little as possible. Because it's supposed to take up like the entire plateau. And then I'll do the same on the other side. I'll give it like a good little haircut, a good trim. And then back here, basically do the same thing. See, this is why I love Axiom. Even just something like this, the fact that you can break things really quickly. It's so nice. Okay. And I'm pretty sure it's disconnected everywhere, so what I could do... Oh no. Okay, somewhere it's touching. It's still in contact somewhere. Okay, I have to break this. Are there Roman builds in Tretogor? There is exactly one. There is... Hold on. I'll show you guys. The beauty of the live stream is that you guys get to actually interact. So I want to show you guys when you ask questions like that. There is one... There's exactly one Roman building. And... if you come out to the woods by Brewerstown, which by the way, I kind of nailed these woods. I love it. This place rocks. Brewerstown is really great. I'm really happy with it. If you come out into the woods, you'll pass a small brewer's hut. And for Velaton, who was asking before, this is inspired by Bojena's hut in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. But then these little flowers lead you up and you get to this small ruined Roman temple. Because this is inspired by like 12th century England. I figured a little bit of Roman ruins would be nice. Pretty overgrown though. Oh wait, I also built the Parthenon. Let me know in chat if you guys want to see the Parthenon that I built. And Canaduck asking, do I have a reason why the city fell into disrepair? I haven't really thought of it yet. I don't know if I will. Obviously, I have some, like... Where is it? Rosewood Port fell into disrepair because there was a fire. But there are some ruins in Tretogor that are unexplained. And... I don't know if I have a compelling reason for this. If you guys want to pitch reasons why this place, like, kind of fell to this in the chat, feel free. I'd love to hear you guys' ideas. You know, two minds are always better than one. But yeah, right now I don't actually have a really solid idea of why this is Old Gedham. Okay, so where is this connected? Where did I not do this well? Whoops. Okay, now... Et voila. Doesn't that look better already? People saying yes to the Parthenon. Okay. The only Roman building in the world is in ruins. Yeah, you know, we're a little bit past Rome. But here, I'll show you guys my Parthenon. So this is where I copy-pasted the city from. This is my build world. You guys have seen it. I actually built this right under here, but it was a little inconvenient because I built it right under the airship. My world is a mess. Oh, here's Roman stuff. It's not in Tretogor, but I have built Roman stuff. For you guys who saw my industrialization video, you know why I talked about the Roman mills. There's some stuff for thumbnails. I told you guys I was going to do a Christmas video and I never did. But yeah, I wasn't happy with my Christmas stuff, but I did build a little bit of Christmas stuff. There are the reindeer. Some boat test. You know, it's a creative world. Here's where I've built all my oak trees. And here... Oh, here's a giraffe. And here's the Parthenon. Or at least the best I could do. I think it came out pretty nice. I don't have anywhere to put this in Tretogor, but... if I ever do a Greek build, I'm totally copy-pasting this in. Okay, so let's take a look-see. So you come into here, you can see that the ceiling is all like this kind of tile glazed pattern. We have the big open meshes, a little porch here. Then you go through the big doors, and there is the statue of Athena. I think it's Athena Parthenos, but there's also Athena Polias, and there's like Athena the Virgin. I don't know. There's a bunch of different Athenas, but this is my Athena, golden statue. I took some inspo from a few different things. This is built to scale, by the way. These are almost the exact measurements of the actual Parthenon in Greece. And yeah, so the idea is that there are tons of little offerings and votives and libations and stuff all around here. You come around to the sides though, you can see there are some like small statues or whatever, and then there is the actual big statue. So you can't actually go through here, but if we go to the back, we can see the treasury of the temple. So again, through the big bronze doors, here's like a big receiving table. And then on the sides, they are storing some pretty swanky stuff. So like some nice pottery, bits of gold, chests. I didn't want to just put mountains of gold because like if I had gold, I wouldn't put it in a mountain. I would keep it in like pots and chests and stuff. Like I don't want people just taking my gold. But yeah, I think it turned out pretty cool. I think it turned out pretty cool. Oh, asking what the ceiling is. Okay, hold on. So the ceiling is a mix of bamboo planks with warped buttons and then cyan terracotta with bamboo buttons. And then you basically just go like so to kind of blend it together. And it makes a really nice pattern. It doesn't really work for a floor tile, but for a ceiling, it looks great, I think. Now all these buttons are floating here. Always nice to see Greek architecture with their intended colors. Yeah, I think so too. You can see even up here, so this bit is supposed to be painted. And then here we have like the metapes and the other word that I cannot... Metapes and triglyphs. Metapes and triglyphs. I remember my Greek classes. But anyway. That's more Greek, and then what we're working on is basically something more Byzantine. So, okay, I think first order of business, we have to support this cliff here. We have to use, like, part of my language, we have to use some kind of, like, bullshit block that we're not going to use in the build itself. This is so hard because I've already gone through most of my normal building blocks. I don't think I used any sponges. We're gonna do sponges. Sorry to everybody, but this is gonna be a sponge thing. Oh, hold on. Okay, so this level is... Wait, I forgot. Before I do the cliffs, I have to... Before I do the cliffs, I have to do what you guys recommended, which is lower part of the city. Which is going to be a pain in my buttocks, but I will do it because you guys are right, and... It does. It will look better. It will genuinely look better when I do it. It's just gonna suck to do it because it's gonna cut some buildings in half, and then I'm gonna have to fix them, and you know how it is. So yeah, I've been playing a lot on Westeros Craft, and it's been a lot of fun, you know. Okay, there we go, and then I'll slowly bring up different parts of the city. So that'll be like the lowest end, and then like right around here. Do I have everything selected? Not really. Okay. You see the process, you get it, you get it. Okay, same thing, we come back in, stretch it across. Obviously Axiom is kind of cheaty, but like doing this in regular Minecraft is... If in regular Minecraft I learned that part of my build was too flat, it would just be a flat build. But with Axiom, you learn you made a mistake, and then you're like, oh, well, let's fix it. Okay, so the basic concept is in. Now we just have to fix the mistakes. Like this. I think this is what caused the ruin of the town, actually. I think this is what happened. This is why the town is ruined, because somebody was using Axiom on it. Okay, let me check the chat. What is the oldest and youngest thing in the Tretogor universe? That is a fantastic question. The oldest thing. Okay, the oldest thing has to be the Tretogor Gate. For sure, because there's a lot of like old stuff in Tretogor, but this is like pre-Tretogor. So this and these buildings, this is like the really old stuff in Tretogor. And some of the newest stuff, like Edgewater is really recent. Edgewater is one of the suburbs of Regensburg. It's like where some of the factory workers live. So like, you know, there's no town hall in Edgewater. There's no general store. Like if you live in Edgewater, your life is Regensburg. You just come here to sleep. But you can see Edgewater is still under construction. Newport is pretty recent. And Somerton is also really recent. You can see it's still being built, actually. Some parts of it are still being expanded. Random gamer asking, is the build going to be that high up? It is. So my plan is to put it on a big cliff. I want to basically have like 1 or 2 blocks of like sandy coast and then go straight up into a cliff. And if you see, it'll be like roughly the height of this cliff. If you want an indication of like how big the cliffs are going to be, like not quite that tall, but like more like this tall. So it's still pretty normal. For how Geddon became ruined, maybe some outside invader raided them like Sarneville or the same guys who raided Borovica. That's not a bad idea. I don't know how I would show battle scars, but that isn't a bad idea. Hello Uncle Baya in the chat. And hello Kringlebin, who says, I'm a new guy here, so my bad if you've gotten into this question already. What's your favorite build in Tretogor so far? If not for its appearance, then for what it represents. Brewerstown is one of my favorites for sure. And I showed off Brewerstown earlier. Regensburg is the build where I feel the most like Stockholm Syndrome for, because it took me forever to finish it. And it's not like my baby, it's more like I spent so long on it that I now feel it has merged with part of my soul. But it's also just really cool. Like, objectively, I think Regensburg kind of rocks, and I think I'm really happy with it overall. Brewerstown, like I said, is really fun. I have a soft spot in my heart for like Newport and Medina, you know, some of like the older builds that were a little bit more cartoony. And you can see that this build is going to be a little bit more on the like this build isn't meant to be like as realistic as this. This is meant to be like super down to earth. Whereas Old Geddon is meant to be a little bit more fanciful, a little bit more interesting, up in the clouds, you know, literally and figuratively. Random Gamer says, if I remember correctly, there's loads of houses under construction around the world. There are. I mean, there are some new houses under construction in Brewerstown and stuff. But basically there are builds where it's like there is new construction and old stuff, and there are builds where there's only new construction. And like Somerton only has the new stuff. There's nothing old in Somerton. This is weird. Okay, what I need to do is I need to slow down. You can see different houses have been disrupted in like different ways. So here we will go like a so, and thank you very much to whoever suggested that I do this, because you were 100% right. I think more than one of you suggested it actually. But yeah, it does help just to have like that, just that slight, barely perceptible gradient. Nothing crazy, nothing crazy. But it's more dynamic this way, for sure. In what timeline is the new build that you are building? I'm not sure what you mean exactly, Titus Volk. How did this get messed up, but not this? Doesn't even make sense. What the hell? How? Why is... Oh, never. I just got it. Never mind. Anyway, we'll deal with it. We will deal with it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so we drop that down. That needs to go down, I think, just one block. I know this said it was going to be a terraforming stream, but now that I've started doing this, it's kind of like... I can't really terraform until I know where the city is, basically. And right now we're kind of plotting out where the city is. But it's fine. Okay. Then I just have to fix this. One of the cool things is I've also been learning some new techniques from Westeros Craft that are really fun. New ways to build chimneys, new ways to build like overhangs and stuff. So this build will include some like stylistic differences to some of the older stuff in Tretogor. I do like the idea of some kind of natural disaster being the downfall of this city. It might have been an earthquake, to be honest. But yeah, the idea is basically less that like, oh, the city like completely got like ruined overnight, and more like, oh, it fell into decay and most people kind of like left for New Gedum. They wanted like something better. It's less like Vesuvius and more like Detroit. I'll probably make that bit be broken off the overhang. Okay, what other builds got messed up here? This one got messed up. This one got messed up. In what year or century would you put it? I don't know, like very ballpark, like 1300. A little bit late, I don't know, like 1350. But yeah, the idea is like it was Byzantine and now it's medieval, basically. Like it had its heyday. It's just not there anymore, you know. Things just ain't what they were. New people have come in and taken the place of the old folks who used to live here. Wait, that doesn't make sense. If this is... It should be going this way. It should be going this way because this should be like the center of the plateau, basically. Maybe some kind of economic crisis? Yeah, I mean, maybe a drought. Maybe it just lost its importance as a city. It could have. I mean, things have definitely... This is no longer... We are very far from central Tretogor. This place is also probably going to have some stylistic links to the Tretogor Gate. So I was thinking maybe the same way that Byzantium sprung up as Rome was failing, maybe this place sprung up when like old Tretogor was failing. And maybe now it's like... Oh, this is funny. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking... it might have had some links to the old empire, basically, to the old Tretogor thing. It used to be like an outpost, and then it became like its own capital, and then it sort of slowly faded by itself. Almost like, you know, like the Romans in Gaul or the Romans in Britain. Something like that. But one of the other cool things is that because we have a cliff... This music is so loud. Because we have a cliff, I'm gonna do things like a little terrace. Obviously not quite like that, but I want to have like little bits where like the buildings are interacting with the cliff, basically. And my idea, the reason that there's a gate here is because this is gonna go down to that sandy little beach I was talking about. I think that's gonna be pretty fun. I think this is gonna be a really fun build overall. I think it's going to have like a lot of verticality. Obviously, like with those towers, it kind of goes like left to right, sweeps down some cliffs, a little bit of ruins down by the water. What is the most modern build in the lore? Definitely Regensburg. Regensburg is like the up-and-comer, the new guy. The Regensburgers are like a new wave of migration people who basically like came in pretty recently, and basically like they came in pretty recently and they are kind of like taking the world by storm. They're the new guys on the block. Yeah, I think something like earthquakes have probably affected this place a lot, realistically. There are places like this where I think I might want to shave it a little bit closer. Have maybe a bit of the foundations peeking like just below. This here is going to be another one of those gardens I was talking about. I don't know how exactly. I have to plant. There's a lot still left to do on this build, obviously. It's not anywhere near done, but I always thought of the Tretogor Gate as being unimaginably ancient, lost techniques and culture. Yeah, so it's definitely older than this. Like, the same way that... Basically, it's like... The Tretogor Gate was like some big Bronze Age kind of thing. And this would be more like, I don't know how to explain it because it's a mix of like fantasy and history. But yeah, the Tretogor Gate is supposed to be like super duper mega old. And this is supposed to be like really old, but it was old, but people kept living here basically. They kept developing the culture, you know, like the same way that in like when Rome fell, there were still like Byzantine people doing Byzantine stuff. Well, like they were Romans, like they called themselves Romans. And you know, they were there. They said, we're the new Rome now. Old Rome gone, old Rome dead. We're the new Rome. So it's something like that. Even though this place is really old, it hung on for longer and then eventually just sort of gave out. They couldn't take whatever kind of pressures were on it. Like how the pyramids were ancient to the Roman age Egyptians. Yeah, 100%. Ever since he built the Tretogor Gate, it's been one of my favorites. I think it's really cool too. Do you think at some point you can make a guide on how to terraform using Axiom? Sure. I mean, I still don't have like all of it, but look, I'll give you like the basics. The number one thing you want to do is like you go to tool masks and you say like or, and then you just put a bunch of blocks here and you list whatever things you want to clear. So when I do my land clearing, I say like get rid of the trees, the lily pads, the leaves, get rid of, you know, mushrooms, pumpkins, sugarcane. I don't want any flowers. I mostly just want grass left over. And then what I do is I do something like take the big painter and replace all the like the leaves and stuff in an area. Sometimes it doesn't work great. But basically you replace everything you don't want with air. And then you just have a big clear area to work with. If you want something like rolling hills, for instance, there's a lot of rolling hills around Brewerstown. You can take a big smoothing brush and then do something like that. And then you'll get some beautiful low rolling hills. When you want to fill in a lot of terrain, what's best is to use like the default rock tool, fill it with something like grass, go like so. And then, I mean, you could basically, then you can take the smooth tool, you could say something like grow and add just a few more blocks. Sorry, I know there's ads on this stream. I do apologize for that. Ads suck, and if you guys want to use ad block, I do not blame you. But in any case, you can put the block ratio a bit higher. This basically means it'll fill in blocks and you set it to grow. And then you can see instead of just smoothing, it'll also act like a filler. And just like that, instead of having a big, dumb, gaping hole, you now have something that kind of looks like real world terrain. And then once you're happy with it, you can set it back to what it was, stable. And it won't fill it anymore. It'll just take what's there and kind of smush it around. And that is another one of the really essential tools. Sometimes you can't be bothered to do something like that. And what you want to do is say, there's a big hole here that's annoying as hell. I would like to say, I want to do some modeling and I want to do a smart surface. So I'll say, I want the surface to go from about here to here, maybe down to about here, there, and there. And then you can come along here and say, maybe smush it a little bit, maybe blend it a little bit better. And then like that, you just have something that works. Now, it's not like perfect, obviously. You can't really use the smooth brush on this, because if you try to smooth this, you will notice some issues. That's why I usually prefer to fill. And like I said, I mostly just fill with like the rock tool. You can fill with like the draw tool as well. I'm probably just going to keep this as a river. I don't really see the point of it being a lake. So it'll probably go like that. Put some more water, put some more land in here. We will once again kind of fill it. Oh yeah, especially because I need this. Actually, I need to divert the river. This needs to be like a big rock mountain slope thing. I'm actually going to fill the whole thing in, and we'll make a new river. Don't worry, guys. There will be a new river. It will connect to Sarneville. I'll terraform the whole river eventually. We still have an hour and 15 minutes on stream, so we're still fine on time. We can go in, fill in the whole thing. One of the great things about Axiom is whenever you don't like something, you can just go Control Z or Control Z and then fill it in, and then it won't matter anymore. We can probably leave it at that because we're going to need to make it like an actual mountain. But yeah, you can see, simple as that, how we filled in the river. Hi there, I just wanted to pop by to say I love your videos in the background while I do chores. Always super insightful and inspirational. Thank you, Kobe. Could you maybe build something German, like a medieval city or a city after the 30 Years' War sometime soon, please? I gotta be honest, probably not gonna happen in the near future. Regensburg has a little bit of German inspo in some specific places, like, hold on. This building is inspired by Germany. That's why it has like that kind of jerkin head roof with the overhang. And buildings like this and stuff where you see like, again, like the jerkin head roof, that's kind of my German inspo. But it's not really something I have an interest in pursuing right now. Like I said, I'm trying to do things I haven't really done. So like I've never done Byzantine, I've never done Japanese, so that's more the direction I'm leaning in, to be honest. And that's the beauty of Tretogor, is that I get to smush a bunch of things together. Thank you so much. I never knew you could use the rock tool like that. Well, I'm glad you guys are learning something. Definitely not using Axiom to its fullest potential. I'm not either, to be honest. Sorry, my dog is yapping his head off in the background. There are some other Axiom tools that can be really useful. I mean, so I have like a ton of brushes. Brushes are super useful. One of the cool things is if you use like the slope block, angle. There is actually slope, but you can also set the angle. So if I say like the rock tool, it'll only do it if the angle is within this range. So you can see here, it doesn't want to do it because it's not within 20 degrees. But if I say something like 180 degrees, now it's willing to do it because this angle of the terrain here is about 180. And the range is just how far from 180 it's willing to go. Things like elevation, also super useful. So with elevation, you can basically just slowly create some big mounds. And you have a few different options. You can lower, obviously. You can also say flatten up. So what that'll do is it'll raise it, but it won't like create like a big peak. It'll try to infill, basically. That's another useful way to infill land. Not necessarily as good as the rock tool, because then you end up with like, if there was sand here, there's going to be more sand. If there was rock, there's going to be more rock. Whereas placing the actual rock tool here, you get to just choose whatever block you want. So now I can make it all grass. Looks beautiful, looks lovely. Come back in. I'll make the radius smaller. Of course, you can make like the strength or the radius different. So if I do strength 10, obliterated. But if I do like strength 0.8, very, very gradual changes. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Man, I love Axiom. I was an early adopter, and it completely opened my mind to how awesome creative building could be in Minecraft. I agree. I mean, Axiom is crazy because I think the person who got me into Axiom was T17N. Who was a great builder, but I would never I mean, I can show you guys. This is my terraforming after Axiom. This is the kind of terraforming Axiom let me do, and I'm very happy with this terraforming. I think it looks, not to toot my own horn, but I think this stuff looks pretty swanky. And if you want to see the scale of terraforming I was doing before, this is about the biggest terraforming I was doing. This is actually a plains biome. Yeah, so this is like this river doing these little blocks around here. Obviously, this isn't the Nile. This is like this is 2 blocks across in some places. So you can see the scale of like this. I mean, Axiom basically lets you build at scale. And also to edit your builds. So again, like the church thing, I realized a couple times that like some things were a little bit higher or lower than I wanted. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just change the height of the thing. It's beautiful. Thank you for the stream. See you soon. Thanks for stopping by. Axiom raises the skill floor for making epic scale builds. 100%. That's a great way to say it. It really raises the floor for like what you need, basically. It lowers the barrier to entry, and World Edit never really did that because World Edit is fucking hard to use. Excuse my language. Here. So we are going to say that the Y level cannot reach. The Y level has to be smaller than 97. What that means is that when I do this and I say I want to make a big mountain, that's really funny. It won't actually touch that. It won't destroy what I've already built. I think it should be 98 though. And like I said, we're going to use some sponge. Here, so we'll come in with something simple to start. Mostly trying to just fill the land. You can see I went over a little bit right there. And then we can, obviously we can come in with something a little bit more refined. Let's say maybe radius 11. Again, a little bit smaller. Whoa. Blow your roll there, cowboy. By the way, making an obelisk in Minecraft is super hard, guys. Don't ever try to make an obelisk. That just sucks. here we're going to extend to ground because I want this to basically drop off into being like a pretty natural feeling slope. Oh, actually, you know what we could do? Instead of this, we could say above equals air. And here, I think this will work. Whoops. Okay, hold on. I'm losing my mind. Above equals air and below equals sponge should mean that we can come in here a few times and no? Okay. Okay, anyway, it's fine if there's a big pit down there, but obviously this whole thing is going to take some work. Let's do a little bit of melting. Let's do some stronger melting. There is actually a melt function as well. It is the little ice cube. It is pretty aggressive, so can't use it late in building. It's a pretty early stage thing. And you can see slowly but surely we're gonna get our mountain plateau feeling a bit better. I think I might even have to raise this one more, to be honest. Sort of doesn't feel like it stands out enough. Okay, so now that's a little bit higher. This has just gotten a little tricky. I have ambient noises on so you can hear like the wind and stuff. It's kind of nice. I need to lower my speed. Oh, another great thing you can do with Axiom is if you guys like building with like powdered concrete, you can just turn the gravity off. I don't know why that isn't a thing you can do in regular Minecraft, like with game rules. You really should be able to. But yeah, the ability to just turn that off is really beautiful. Axiom has so many features that feel like they should have been like creative mode features by now. Like not this stuff. I get that like rearranging whole buildings is like pretty wacky, but there's an Axiom feature that lets you make it so that animals don't like trample crops. I feel like that should have been in the game by now. Okay. What the helly? I know the sponge is temporary, but that looks atrocious. I know. The problem is, okay, if I use a normal block, then when I go in and I'm like, oh, replace all the stone. What if I use stone in one of my buildings? Then it's gonna look wonky. But if I use random blocks that I know for sure I'm not gonna use, if I use things like prismarine and resin and iron and gold and melons and sponges, then I can use my replace commands without worrying about messing something up. Also why I'm using end stone. What is the system of government for this city? So the idea was that this is the administrative center of the city. This was like the town hall or the the seat of the governor or whatever. This building was the important one. I haven't fully decided what they were doing in here, but there was no like lord or king of the city. It was it's like an urban collective basically. Hey Akashashin in the chat. I'd watch out for the balance between the land and the buildings, especially at the temple. An ambient sounds mod is always in my mod list. Yeah, the vibes are really nice. Helps me get into the headspace of a Welsh stonemason designing a castle in the foothills. There definitely needs to be some kind of game rule to stop Enderman from messing up my terrain. That one is mob griefing. Mob griefing will do that. Oh, you know what? Actually, this looked better when it was... I think that looked actually a little bit better when it was a bit higher. Like so. And at the back here, I'm actually going to raise the grass. Oh, come on, man. Okay, forget it. No corners. Here we go. Just going to raise up the grass one more level. And yeah, that has definitely helped the sloping feeling. What's the tax system? Pay your taxes or else you get thrown from the cliffs. Remarkably effective system, actually. I developed the capsule cliffs thing back when I was doing those, when I was doing the big white cliffs. Oh, hold on. That's why it looks weird, because I have it set to extend to ground. And I don't really want it to do that, actually. And then over here, like I said, it's gonna, not over here. Over here, it's gonna come and wind down to the beach. And that'll be the second sort of entrance into the city. Again, not in a million years would I volunteer to do this by hand. This would be miserable. This would be miserable. 100%. Yeah, I'm gonna have to shave that for sure. Again, the beauty of the Control Z tool is messing something up and then immediately getting to replace it. Hey Morty, doing well. Got a lecture after this. I'm gonna go to a uni, and you know, I think it's a beautiful sunny day. So I know not everybody's in the Discord, so the reason I haven't been posting is because I've been playing a bit of modded Minecraft. I've also been busy as hell. I got 2 jobs. They're both part-time, but they're also like taking up my time. Also, I'm in university also, like, which is obviously full-time. So yeah, it's been busy. Busy. I kind of like that. Not everywhere. Here, I think it should be a little bit more, je ne sais quoi, but sort of like cut out, maybe? I don't know. Oh, hold on. These should be extending to ground. Ideally. Nope. That looks terrible. There we go. That's fine. Go back around. Go a little bit finer this time. Like I said, down here is supposed to be a beach, so that's why it's going to kind of blend in. And then here it's supposed to be, you know, kind of rocky, so whoops. I think I'll do something like that. Hey, what the heck? What is happening? Oh! Guys, I didn't... Oh, God. I built it out of sponges. Forgot that I built it out of sponges. Ugh. Is that a Byzantine style church? It looks good. Thank you. And yes, it is. It is based off of a church in real life, and I don't remember the name. But yes, I have built a big Byzantine style church. I'm pretty happy with it. Got some real big arches. Again, trying to go for that kind of monumental, like Tretogor gate style, but just a little bit reduced. What biome are you going with for the cliffs? Are they going to be forested or dry? Honestly, I hadn't even thought about what color they're going to be. I'm not sure. That is a good question, the Muffin Man. Okay, the water sorted itself out. We need to switch away from sponges. And it looks like we're transitioning to bamboo. here we are going to create a big, nice beach. Big beach. Actually, maybe there's a natural harbor here. I'll keep that as water. I'll fix that and then I'll make it into like a natural harbor. This will still be a beach though. I'm going to increase the smoothing and melding a little bit. And the rounding. Anyway, once you see it like that, the cliff isn't... It's not going to look that huge. You know? And now we can do what I was trying to do before, which is... Here we go. Block equals air. And below equals sponge. Nope. Nope. Sponge. Good. Why doesn't it work? Is none of this? Why does this not? Why does it not want to do that? What the hell? Is this not air? Is this not sponge? What's happening? Oh, it says above equals sponge. I just chose the wrong one. Okay, below equals sponge. And now we see the beauty. And I'll just reduce that sphere a little bit. I kind of like the idea of there being a few caves. So I'm going to keep some of like those little things. I hadn't even considered caves before, but now that I'm thinking about it, this place would certainly benefit from caves. Oh, here we go. You can see sky. Hold on. Just being able to do this and do it like really simply and visually, I just find Axiom so intuitive. Back in the world edit days, you'd have to remember like the you'd have to remember the block ID for like every single block you wanted to use. And then write out these big long strings that were like replace with 75%, 164, 10%, 189. Such a drag. Such a drag. This is going to be one of the reasons I think some of the buildings might be falling, by the way, is that the land is kind of like eroding because of earthquakes and stuff. Earthquakes and whatnot. Just gonna smooth this out some more. Because this lead up here should be grass. It's supposed to look like a big grassy plateau. Now, I'm aware that geologically it doesn't make sense for there to be a huge plateau here, so I'm probably gonna make this like a proper mountain to kind of imply that there's like a fault line. What is the major block you're gonna use for the builds? I haven't decided a lot of the palette stuff. And for Morty, who's asking where are we in the Tretogor world? So this is what I showed off in the last episode of Cities and Castles. This is Hawksmoor. And then if we follow this road, this will take us into New Gedham. If we go along the coast, you can see the Sea Serpent, the Cutthroat Cove, the Portal, and the Rosewood Port, and then Sarneville. So basically, the way the road is going to go is that you're going to go... Probably there's going to be a path leading through here, and then a path coming down here. They're going to join around here, and then it's going to walk you down the river. So I'm going to customize this whole river to make like... to not be this, because this sucks. Obviously, this looks terrible. And then you're going to see rising up in the distance a big Byzantine city. But of course, for the screenshots, I'm probably going to take them from like here. Or more likely, like here. It would be cool if some of the old city ruins would be sticking out of the sides of the smoother areas of the cliff. Yes, I am planning that. I am planning on having some of the building stuff, especially like some terraces and whatnot, kind of sticking out. But yeah, here, I mean, this is a great place for it. Some things like that, basically. And obviously, like, I mean, Axiom is great, but it's not Axiom instead of building, it's Axiom, and then you get to come in and spend the time doing the little details that really make the build. I imagine like the soil layer here would be like super thin, so something like this we have to shave off. I mean, okay, hold on. So this path should basically run through here. And then up to the gate. I think that's gonna look really cool when it comes down there. Also, it's gonna help with the verticality. So like, okay, it's gonna help with two things. One, things like buildings and paintings are always more interesting when you have an access point. So that's why we put doors on the front of houses, basically, and not on the back usually. It's not just because it's convenient, it's because things feel more like you want to go to them when you feel like you could just like step into it, and having a path that runs into the city like that is going to add to that, and it's also going to add to the verticality. I also mentioned I wanted to probably have like a water stream running down somewhere, so that's going to help, and having things like that is also going to help, and obviously like the cliff and the tower and all that. Yeah, I'm trying to emphasize the really vertical elements with this build quite a lot. Because it's interesting, you know? It's more interesting to play in 3D space than it is to play in 2D space, and that's why you guys are watching me play Minecraft and not Terraria. At least that's my perspective, of course. Obviously, Terraria is a perfectly fine game with a lot of people who like it, but it never quite appealed to me. I need to... Hold on. What I'll do is I'll take the smoothing tool and I'll make it real small. We'll say stable. and see if it will help us make a path. Maybe something that winds just a little bit more. Oh yeah, here's another issue. So if you're trying to do something like this, where you're trying to like smooth out a path, it'll start dragging blocks you don't want into the conversation. And then you can see this is kind of a trouble area though. Don't really know. I think I might just have to add some more blocks. Obviously, I know this looks terrible right now, but we'll get there. We'll get there, guys. Are you ever going to do anything in other dimensions? Or is that end portal just there because it looks cool? Honestly, it's just there because it looked like... I put an end portal and another portal partly because they look cool and partly because, you know, some people want to use Tretogor for like different things. And if they want to like go to the end with their friends or role play in the nether, like I wanted to give people that option. But myself, I have no inspo for the nether. I have like nothing that I want to do in the nether. Currently, Whip, another like a big Minecraft builder, is working on a cyberpunk nether city with like the red fog everywhere, and that's a cool idea. It's not something I have any personal interest in. For me, that kind of stuff just doesn't really appeal. And I've never really thought about what I would do in the end. Obviously, I know I talked to you guys about like the Enderman Society idea. And I do think that's interesting, but that's more of a creative exercise than like something I personally want to like actually put hours of my life into. There we go. Does that look weird? It looks weird. Hold on. This needs to wind a bit more. Cube? No, sphere. Okay, then it needs to, you know... Here, we'll make some real small little rock things, and then it'll kind of zigzag, because the fun part about a cliff thing isn't that you get to go down a straight line, it's that you get to go back and forth and slowly make your way up. Your channel as a whole and the community you built is a big inspiration for building, at least to me. Good to see you making this amazing world better. Thank you, Morty. City would be nice to have an undercity for criminals. That's a cool idea. I'm not sure I'm gonna go in that direction. I think I'm trying to take it in a bit more of a wholesome, kind of cartoony way. But that does fit with the caves thing. I'm not gonna discount that. Like a thieves guild or bandits. Chaos dwarves in the nether. They can stay in the nether. I don't want to know anything about them. Okay, and then just take this and, you know, smooth it out. Smooth it out. There we go. Doesn't that look great? Oh, here's another cool feature. Is annotation. So here, this is basically what it'll look like. You'll come out, go through there, go down, zigzag, then you'll be on the beach. And with the annotation feature, you literally draw on the blocks that are there and it stays. Isn't that cool? Axiom is great. And then I can even put, obviously I can just go Control Z. You can do redo. Never mind. Does not want to redo that. Okay, I can go like that, but I can also, I can erase it, or I can clear all annotations. I can put text. So I can say like, hold on. And then if you come over here, you'll see the word church. What I can also do is click on this and do it again in like a way bigger scale. Take this, flip it around, do some cool tricks. Obviously, I know that it's a church, so I don't need to write that. But when you're working on a big project for like 5 years, that kind of stuff is super useful. Would be cool to have a city that has some kind of nether-based religion. That's a cool idea. I'll keep that in mind. Looks nice so far. Thank you. Okay. So got this mostly figured out. I did promise you guys that this would be an Axiom video. I'll work that out by myself. So here, why don't we take a look at this whole river thing? I think the best way to do this... Oh, by the way, so here's another cool tool. So, here, let me build it like this. I'm building some shenanigans, but you'll get it in like a minute. I just don't want to accidentally mess something up and then break a whole bunch of grass in my world and cause lag and stuff. Okay, so the top of this is 74. And the bottom of this is 67. Don't say it in the chat. I know 67. I know it. So we can say and we can say that it should be less than 74. We can say like 72. And then we can say that it should go down to say 68. This is totally going to break some grass. It's fine. And I can take my fluid ball. See, it's doing that because it's going to pour everywhere. It's fine. You get the idea. And it only filled it up to a specific level. Obviously, that was terrible, and you can see why I didn't want to do that on land. But here's another one. Okay, so I can say I've dealt with a specific issue before, so I created a brush for it. It's called 63 water. If I'm targeting a block that is made out of water and it is y equals 63, then I make my active block into air, and then I can do something like draw, and voila. Okay, this is because the kelp grew in like the minute that I was doing that. There you go. So all the water that was at y equals 63. So flood fill and then getting rid of your flood fill mistakes. Very important Axiom skill. Very important when you're making rivers. Anyway, if we fly back over, I think we should probably melt this, make it really nice and open like a natural harbor. And then we're probably gonna want this river to snake around to like here. So we are currently just cutting a big gaping crevasse through the terrain. Do you have any plans for making an underground city? I don't. I've thought about it. It just never really... I never really got like good inspo for it. But something like that might come to Tretogor at some point. Don't discount it, but don't plan to see that kind of thing in like the next 3 months. Is what I would say. Here we can just shave back a little bit. Sometimes you plan out a river and then you realize that you're like way above sea level. So like, this is y equals 67. God damn it. I said 6'7" again. So you can see it's not going to actually connect to our river properly. So even though it looks like, oh, this is like a normal river, like it's really not. It's way too high, and we need to lower it. Means we also need to lower the terrain around it to make it look like a river valley. Yeah, doing like the labels is definitely useful with Axiom. And you can see the mess of like gross Minecraft terrain that was here originally. I like Minecraft. I definitely think it still needs some terrain updates. I'm not really happy with the new like 1.18 terrain. I don't think it is at a good level. I don't think a lot of people think it is at a good level. Like, I think if you ask the average person who's like serious about Minecraft building what they think of the default 1.18 terrain, they'll tell you it's really not what it should be. For a bunch of reasons. But anyway. That isn't to be disparaging to Mojang employees by any means. It's just a direction that I think the game should continue to grow in. I think a future update should focus on bringing more terrain changes. Anyway. So slowly but surely, I know this looks very gross. I'm sure it looks gross, guys. You gotta trust the process. When you use the melt tool, it's always gonna look jaggedy, and then when you use the smooth tool, it'll look nice again. It's fine. Also, there's just a lot of textures going on right now, but once we make it all grass and smooth it out, it'll look fine and dandy. And I need to fill this in a bit because this is currently very yuck. Currently very yuck. It's so annoying dealing with like default Minecraft terrain sometimes. Like, what the hell is this? While I love the big mountains, I do think the plains have suffered quite a bit. Yeah, 100%. There's like every Minecraft world when you spawn in is like 90% like mountain feeling now, and it's like impossible to find a good flat area. At least that's my sentiment. I know not everybody feels that way. Not everybody has to, but I just find it really difficult to find like good building space in Minecraft now. This needs to be filled in for sure. This is ridiculous. But we're getting there. See, slowly but surely it starts to make sense, you know. Starts to actually look like something that a human being might consider a river. I ran into an aquifer here, it seems. Ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Right now we are smoothing, but we are also melting at the same time. You know, shaving away some of those steep banks, making it a little bit more agreeable, especially in places like this where it's real steep. This is so annoying. I agree. A lot of my world now just has these massive plateaus with cliffs that drop off 100 blocks to the river. Yeah, it's really like the whole thing has just. The problem is that the cliffs are so unanimous that in the past it used to be like, oh, I'm either building in a mountain biome or I'm building in like a relatively flat world. But now it always feels like you're either building on a mountain or in a mountain valley. Even when you choose the flat land, it kind of feels like the game has forced your hand into still building in a mountainous context. And that's just really frustrating. Like, I don't want all my builds to feel like they're in a valley. Random Gamer saying, I actually like those plateaus. I like that Minecraft is more vertical now. Which is fair. I mean, Minecraft definitely has come a long way from feeling like the really flat worlds that, you know, we started with. And I know not everybody dislikes the new terrain. I know enough people like it. As always, I don't want to, you know, yuck somebody's yum or anything, but to me, as somebody who's really used to building in a lot of more like sort of flat rolling hills kind of places, it's it just doesn't really do it for me sometimes. Like this build is supposed to be up on a cliff, but Newport isn't. Newport is supposed to feel like flat, you know? Really hard to do things like Newport in the new terrain. Newport isn't supposed to feel like, or like Somerton. Somerton isn't supposed to feel like it's in a valley. It's supposed to feel like it's in like a big open plain, but just aren't a ton of big open plains anymore. Unfortunately. I've tried a bunch of different terrain generation mods and I didn't really like any of them. For like different reasons, but I have tried to find some alternatives. Anyway, you can see the river basically. We're just going back and forth and back and forth. And every time it kind of starts to look a little bit more like a real river. I imagine this used to be a really good way to trade with Sarneville back when this port was still really active. I'd love for plains to be flatter, but keeping the mountain ranges of 118. Well, that's the thing. Like, I think the new mountains look great. I think Mojang did a really good job with the mountains. My issue is, pardon me, my issue isn't the things they implemented. My issue is the frequency, basically. It feels like they reversed the frequency. So where it used to be like 90% flat, 10% mountains, it feels like the world is 90% mountains, 10% flat. And when I say mountains, I also include mountain valleys, because if you're building, pardon me, sorry. If you're building in like a dip between two mountains, you're kind of still building like a mountain build, you know? Which also means like every build, like every castle has to be a mountain castle. You know, it's kind of hard to make like a moat. Like, it just doesn't really make sense anymore. Like, there's always just mountains there. Not everywhere has mountains. You know, in real life, I mean, like, a lot of places aren't really meant to have mountains. Let me make this stable. And we'll try to fix some of this yucky terrain. And we'll also see the power of the paint tool, because I'm going to paint everything to be grass. Obviously, like, I will come in here, I will refine this. I have ideas for the river. If you guys look up something, wait, hold on. Of course, it's loading very slowly. Okay, this is really hard to find images of what I'm talking about. Here, it should look something like this, basically. It's going to be a bit like deeper in the middle than this. Like, this is a little bit extreme. But I want to have like substantial river banks. Rivers in Minecraft don't have river banks. You know, every Minecraft and river is always like at... Every river in Minecraft looks like it is at basically like high tide. But in real life, obviously, like sometimes rivers are low. So I want to make a river that looks like it's low at the moment. My main problem with the new terrain is all the weird cuts that appear in plains biomes and the weird spaghetti caves. Yeah, The spaghetti caves don't bother me. Like, I think if you're underground and there's weird caves, you're like, oh, the caves are weird. But when you're above ground and the terrain starts cutting off and you get those like big, weird, I don't know. I love building by and in mountains. That's fair. I do also agree that the oceans kind of need a new update. They implied that they were gonna do like an ocean update 2.0, and then it turned out to just be the Nautilus. Which, I mean, the Nautilus looks good, but if you haven't noticed, I'm playing in creative mode, so don't really have a lot of Nautilus stuff going on. Anyway, we're gonna paint this to be grass because it'll look nicer on the eyes, and we'll get to like understand the shapes that we're working with a bit better. Because once it's all grass, I mean, it's kind of the thing about doing it out of sponge too, is when you're only working with a single block, it's substantially easier to like understand what you're actually working with. Now you can kind of see how the river's going. You can see some bits of it are like way deeper than others, and that looks weird, so I'm gonna have to fix that. The stream is going to come to an end in 10 minutes because, like I said, I've got to get to school. But if you guys have some requests for something you want me to explain in Axiom, some part of Tretogor you want to see that I haven't shown off in a while, anything like that, now is the time, because I don't know when the next live stream is going to be. Oh, and here's another just super useful thing. Here, where's that tool? Where's that tool? Extrude. Extrude is super useful for terraforming because it lets you bump down everything by like 1 block. Or bump everything up by a block. What that means is when you have things like this, like see how easily you can just get rid of little silly things that you don't need. Right now, this hill is a little bit high. So, just gonna drop it down a bit. And this one too. Maybe just a brief look at the new stuff. I haven't been around in a while and I'm not caught up. Sure. You know if there's a way to make smooth gradients using Axiom? I don't tend to do a lot of gradients in Axiom. So what I would usually do for like a gradient is I would just use the painter and I'd set it to like real small. And I'd say like, okay, so this is going to be my orange wool. And then over here, we'll do a layer of green, yellow, sorry. And then green. Blue. And that's basically how I would typically do a gradient using Axiom, like because it just lets you paint big areas really simply. There is also the gradient tool, but I don't actually like using the gradient painter in Axiom. It's not a tool I have a lot of experience using. If you're talking about making like a nice looking gradient though, one thing you can do is summon the color cloud. I swear I have one somewhere. But if not, here we're in the test world. So operation, generate color field. Hold on. We'll select a big area. We'll go like that. Operations, generate color field. Why is this not working? There we go. This one is huge. Let's make it a bit smaller, shall we? If you want to create a nice looking gradient, one of the things you can do is generate the color field, and basically, I mean, you can basically just draw a straight line between any two blocks, and there's a really good tool for this in Axiom. So say I want to go from end stone to pumpkins. Say I'm like end stone pumpkin gradient, that'll be great. Well, end stone through pumpkins, I'm gonna hit, or melon, I'm gonna hit end stone bricks. I could probably use bamboo because it's pretty close, and I could use melon. And then maybe I could also use a little bit of bamboo. And I think it's close enough to the gradient, I could probably also go something like this. And if you go a little bit far away and you squint your eyes, you have a gradient. So that isn't using the gradient painter, but that is one way to help your gradients using Axiom. Random Gamer was asking if I could take a look at some of the newer stuff. So some of the newer stuff I've been doing is in Parcana. Like, it's just like the name I gave to this. That's weird. So that's just the name I gave to this province, like as a placeholder. But this is what I've been working on, and I'm not happy with a lot of the stuff, so I've been spending like, I haven't actually built a new building in here in like a while. Mostly what I've been doing is coming in and replacing old buildings with like better versions. This is the Hall of Lesser Guilds. So this is going to be like the sort of like guild hall for people who work in some different professions, like I don't know, like general traders, sailors and fishermen, and handle makers and stuff like that, fletchers. And then that big building there is for the big major guilds. I haven't decided what those are necessarily, but I had some ideas that were like, you know, like spicers, merchants, money lenders, mercers, and people who like trade wool, textile workers, silk workers, probably a guild for like fencers and like sword masters. So this is what this city is looking like. Kind of show this off at the beginning of stream. It's still super work in progress, of course. Like I said, almost a year ago now, like this build is basically never going to get finished. Not in the sense that I don't want it to be finished, but in the sense that I'm not building here every day being like, oh, I have to get a new video out on the French city. It's just like, oh, I have some more inspo for the French city. Maybe I can come in and do a building. In Tretogor, there hasn't been a lot of new stuff. So obviously this is going to be the next thing I show off in Tretogor. This is the last thing I showed off. I showed this off in the last episode of Minecraft Cities and Castles. This is Hawksmoor Castle. inspired by Duntroon in Scotland. Pretty happy with how this turned out. It's very earthy, you know, a lot of browns and grays and sort of slight purples and stuff. Very happy with the fields that I did. And with this custom marsh biome. And then speaking of marsh biomes, the only other thing I've built since I gave out the world download is that now, instead of leading to a dead end, this path here next to Castle Leslie will continue through the woods and take you to Fort Karsten. So you go over this really dark covered bridge here. This was actually inspired by Kingdom Come Deliverance as well. It's inspired by the covered bridge in Zheleov. You might not get it if you haven't played that game, but a lot of my inspo comes not from like really specific things, but from like general vibes and ideas. There was some of that ambience I was talking about. So yeah, this is Fort Karsten. It's a pretty gross rundown place. It's basically like an outpost of Castle Leslie, and the idea is that this is the northern border of Tretogor. So the same way that the Tretogor Gate is the southern border, this place acts as the border post blocking basically this path into Tretogor. And actually, I've never showed this off. I built these mountains right after the Fort Karsten video. So I was inspired by the natural landscape of Lebanon to create some really scraggly, gravelly hills. So a lot of times you think of the Middle East as like sand dunes and deserts, but that's not really what most of the Middle East is. A lot of it is stuff like this. So it's these hills that are like, or mountains, where you get a lot of like small stones and gravel and dust. A lot of really like earthy colors, little bits of super dry foliage, and like things like cedar trees and evergreen stuff. And then right at the tops, you will get some icy peaks, basically. And because it's basically glacier ice, it's really dirty. It doesn't have like a clean white color. But yeah, I built this custom mountain range. You guys are the only ones who have really seen it. I showed off like one picture in the Discord. But yeah, that is what's been going on in Tretogor. Thank you very much, Muin. I really have a soft spot for this world. So I mentioned offhandedly, I was thinking of maybe doing like a samurai village thing. It would be like here. Basically, I would just like completely gut the swamp, get rid of that village, and put it north of Medina. And I know that I said that that was going to be like the northern border post. But you know how plans change. And anyway, in real life, basically between Europe and Japan was the Middle East. So that's kind of why I decided if I ever like work up the inspiration and courage to do something Japanese, that's where it's gonna be. Thanks for the kind comments. I love hearing the wind when I fly. Beautiful ambient sounds. But anyway, the next time you guys see this world, I'll probably have done a little bit more of this stuff off camera, including like the river here. Like I said, very strong possibility that this turns into a like proper mountain. It doesn't look bad right now, but scale-wise, it's just a little bit small. And then this river is also going to get terraformed, and this place here is probably going to be like some ruined farms and stuff, because this place would need farms, obviously. And I don't have a ton of building room like here, because if I start building too close, then it's going to be right on the edge of Hawksmoor. So I can clear out a few more trees, but most of the farming stuff is probably going to be tucked away behind. And yes, we are getting back to the cheese plateau. But yeah, I'm happy with this. I'm excited for the future of Tretogor and to see what this build is going to add to the world. What it's going to add to like the feeling of, you know, scale and time. This is a build that's going to have, like I said, like a lot of layering. So, for instance, this used to be like an old tavern or whatever. And my idea is that now somebody inhabits like these two rooms. So whereas previously the whole building would have been used, you know, there's not that many people around anymore. And obviously, as you can tell, all the new architecture is going to be smaller than the old stuff. It's not only that there are fewer people, it's that their level of skill is lower than it was. They don't have all the techniques. They don't necessarily have all the resources, all the money, all the things they need. The idea is that there's going to be like some scaffolding and like wooden cranes and stuff on some of the buildings. And I think it's going to be really, really cool. That is basically going to do it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me on this stream. I can see this actually got messed up and I didn't even notice. But yeah, I think the future of Tretogor is looking bright as ever. I will still be spending most of my time in the near future working on Westeros Craft. If you guys are ever like, oh, we want to see what you're doing on Westeros Craft, let me know. It's something I would be open to showing on camera, but I know it's not like what my channel was really made for, so I don't want to like force it on you guys if you're not interested. But have a nice day, everyone, and I will see you